Hey folks, I'm Todd at Freedom Fighter Tactical. Today I am going to show you how to change out the 5-round stock magazine tube that comes with your gun that has the 2-round limiter on the end of it with a 7-round magazine tube. Let's get started right now. Hey folks, Todd at Freedom Fighter Tactical. Again, we are going to change out a 5-round magazine tube with a 7-round magazine tube on a Benelli M4. I'm going to show you how to do this. It's not a difficult job. It just depends on how much Loctite you have gummed up in your shotgun. I'm actually going to simulate this job. I have 2 shotguns. I have one shotgun that has not had this done to it yet, and one shotgun that has. But because I'm doing this in my studio instead of on a workbench or somewhere better to do this job, I'm actually just going to jump through the steps to show you what you need to look for and how to get through the job quick and easy. You're not actually going to see any smoke. You're not actually going to watch me dealing with the heat in a sense that I'm actually using the heat gun. I'm going to be showing you the heat gun, but it's going to be turned off. But it's going to be just a very quick and easy getting through this process so that you can watch this over and over again, and hopefully it won't be a 40-minute video. A lot of my videos tend to get kind of long. I get that. I like to share with you all the knowledge that I have when it comes to whatever topic I'm talking about, and it can get long-winded. I get that. So I'm going to do it here in my studio, and I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to give you everything you need so that you can do this job yourself. So let's get started with a look down at my workbench. All right, so we're taking a look at my workbench here, and you can see I've got some tools and some things to help get this job done quick and easy. Okay, some leather gloves to protect my hands from the heat. Just a cleaning rag. I like to start with a clean one on a job like this. I have a bristle brush. This is not exactly the brush that I would want to use on this job, but I searched my toolkit far and wide and cannot find the brush that I would rather use. But this would work if I were just, if I were actually doing this job right now and needed to use this to clean threading, which is the only thing I use this brush for in this job, I could easily use this brush. But I'd rather have one that's like it's got a handle and just has some bristles facing straight down, kind of like a lint brush or a dog brush or something like that, but very narrow, and that could fit into the into where the magazine inserts into the receiver to clean out threading. But that would do if I had to use that. I have a punch to get the trigger kit out. I've got a cleaning patch in case I need that. I have some break free, some cleaner that I can use. I have this is basically a rubber grip. It's kind of it's like one of those things you keep in the jar in the drawer in the kitchen that helps you get the lid off the pickle jar. I don't use this for that purpose. But that's what this is for. This is so that you can grip on the magazine tube itself. I've got some snap ring pliers for removal of the magazine spring seal ring, and of course I've got a heat gun. I get a lot of questions about the heat gun. What kind of heat gun do you need? This is a heat gun that I bought probably 15 years ago. I bought it, I think, at Lowe's, and it was like 40 bucks, and I found it in the paint department of all places. At Lowe's, and you can probably find them there. And people ask me, and even in my instructions, that's one last thing too, is these are instructions that I've printed from my website. I'm not going to have them in the frame this entire time, but you can go to my website. If you go to the bottom right of any page on my website, in the footer, there's a link that says installation instructions, and you can click that link. It goes to a page where there are other links to installation instructions, and when you click those links, a PDF will open up and you can print the instructions for how to do this. Okay, very easy. Yeah, I get a lot. So in my instructions, I do talk about you don't want a heat gun that goes over 400 degrees. Well, this heat gun doesn't give you a if you look at it, it doesn't give you a temperature reading. It just, it gets hotter or it gets colder, or I guess cooler. I don't think this thing, it doesn't blow anything cold. It's all warm air, hot air, whatever. So I always like to start out, and I'll just go ahead and tell you this. I always like to start out with, a fair amount of heat, but nothing crazy, and give it some time and see how long see if I start seeing results, and the results that you see are going to be smoke. You'll have an odor, perhaps. But if I need to get a little hotter, I can get it a little hotter. I like to use the least amount of heat as possible. This gun has been heavily heat treated. It's going to be just fine if you do what I tell you. But you want to, there's no reason to put more heat on it than you need to, because there's points in the process of doing this job where you have to wait for it to cool down in order to proceed to the next step. And the hotter you get everything, the longer you have to wait for it to cool down. And not only that, the hotter you get things, if you do burn yourself, the worse the burn is going to be. So you can imagine all the reasons why you could use less heat than you need, and that's going to be very beneficial in getting this job done. It might take a little longer, so I don't want to say quickly and easily. It might be a little longer to use less heat, but it'll definitely be easier as far as not burning yourself, waiting for it to cool down, all that. So let's just get started. The first thing we're going to do is break down a gun. So let me clear off my table and we'll get started with that. Okay, so here's the gun. This is the gun I'm going to use for the first half of the job. And the second half of the job is going to be a gun where this has already been done, because I don't want to use heat under these lights and in the studio where I'm working. This is not a workbench that's a very good place to do a magazine change with the heat gun. So we're going to dig right into it. Now I'm also, ordinarily I would have the gun stood up straight, vertically with the barrel towards the sky for a lot of this work, the breakdown and the putting it back together. It's kind of hard to do it when it's in front of you laying out on a table, some of the stuff, but we're just going to do it this way. Now there's a few things that I'm going to need, including a punch. But we're going to break this gun down and get it ready for removal of the 5-round magazine tube. Of course, we're not going to remove this tube, but I'm going to show you exactly what you need to do to get to a point where you will be removing it and you will have success in removing it. And then I'll use my other shotgun where this job's already been done to show you, kind of the cleanup and the put back together. So the first thing we're going to do, you always want to make sure that the gun, of course, is unloaded at all times. I've got the bolt pulled back in the rear, and this is ready to go. This is not a dangerous shotgun in its current condition. So I'm going to remove the nut on the end, and I am going to just simply pull the barrel forward just enough to get the four ends. I'll just try to keep things in frame here for you so you can see what's been removed. And then I'm going to unscrew the 2-round limiter, and it's going to come right off. Okay, very simple job. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to keep all this in frame while we do this. So look, right here you can get to the job. Now, one thing that I like to do is I like to, let's see, if that'll come off. That actually doesn't come off until the magazine is removed. It's been a while since I've done one of these. Here's the thing. You're going to be pointing the heat gun into the receiver and angling it down at the threads on this magazine tube where it enters the receiver. You've got the bolt back here, and there's a lot going on in the bolt, and I actually would prefer not to heat the bolt, okay? So actually, I'm going to want to remove the bolt, and I'm going to want to remove the trigger kit. So basically, we are down. So I'm going to pull and twist my charging handle and get that out of there. Actually, I need to. Let's see. Oh, there it goes, right out of the end. Okay. I want to remove the trigger kit as well because I don't want the heat affecting the trigger kit whatsoever, even though it probably won't hurt it. Let's see if I can push that out. I'm at a weird angle here, so it makes the job trickier. Come on out of there. Oh. Come on, right out. I may reserve putting it back together just to make the video shorter. But there you can see I have and what did that take me? A minute or two? Not even. And it only did because I'm talking to you while I'm doing it and showing you things while I'm doing it. So that, I mean, it's just a receiver with a stock on the end. This job can be done with the stock on the end. In fact, I advise to do it. Unless you have a vise or something, the stock will help you hold it. I am not using a work table here, and a lot of you are not going to have a work table with a vise. So you're going to have to do this job. You're going to have to improvise and do it a different way. So look, I was actually going to remove the magazine spring cap. In fact, I'm going to do that now. Let's see. Use the snap ring pliers and go right in. Now, I like to only nudge this. I did a video about this recently, or I did a video where this was included, and I only like to, oh, there it goes. I was only going to nudge it out a little bit, but there was a lot of pressure behind that spring. And this is, if you watch the video I did the other day, I still haven't changed out that crooked old original Benelli spring, but boy, that just shot right out. I barely put any pressure with the snap ring pliers on this, and it shot right out. Normally, I can put a little bit of pressure on it, nudge it out a little bit, and then I like to take the flathead screwdriver and stick it into the center and just kind of nudge it out with my hand cupped over the end so it doesn't go shooting. But as you can see, when that happened just now, I barely squeezed these pliers together and it wanted to come right out. So that's it. So we're going to actually use this part in the with the 7-round mag tube, and I'm going to show you how. If you notice, that was at the end of the 5-round tube. In the last video, I actually said I had removed it from the end of the limiter. That was incorrect. I had moved it from the end of the 5-round tube. The magazine spring seal ring does not go at the end of the limiter. It goes at the end of the whatever tube you're using. And so that's it. This gun is broken down and ready for heat. So provided that my heat gun is plugged in and I'm using it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the temperature maybe at halfway. So there's a little arrow here. I might take it to about halfway. I've got it plugged in. I'm going to turn it on and I'm going to angle it right here. Now, I'm only holding this while I'm doing this because I need to have it under the camera and under the light for you to see it. But this is going to get really hot, so you're not going to be holding it. Normally what I'm doing is if I'm doing this at home and I don't have a workbench, what I do is I put the buttstock on the ground. I put a couple of towels across my legs and create a spot for the gun to stand up, horizontally or vertically, I'm sorry, and have the gun between my legs with the towels protecting me from the heat. And usually when I do this, I'm smoking a cigar and I'm pointing this straight down into it, but I'm not holding on to the receiver. That receiver is going to get really hot. And this is one of the reasons why I have leather work gloves. Actually, when I'm working with the heat, I'm not gonna actually put these on, but when I'm working with the heat, I have these on. So when I'm touching the gun, when I'm moving the gun around, if I touch anything, the heat is not going to burn me. And so I like to use the leather gloves while I'm doing this job. At least while the gun has got any heat going on with it whatsoever. So you're gonna put this down into the gun and you're gonna hear it blowing like a hairdryer. And on the amount of heat that I'm putting on there, I mean, I might give it 15 minutes. And usually you're going to see some smoke maybe coming out of right here. I've seen a little smoke coming out of the end of the gun before, or the magazine tube, but usually the smoke is coming from right around here. If you're getting anywhere, there might be an odor. And depending on how much Loctite they've used to gum up your magazine tube is going to be a factor in how much heat and how long the heat is before you can actually budge this tube. So what I do is I'll set my timer. I'm going to be outside. A lot of times when I do this job, I'm sitting in my backyard. I'm smoking a cigar. I've got my leather gloves on. I've got some music going, and I've got the heat pointed down. Maybe I'm listening to a podcast or something, so the time goes by quickly. And then with my leather gloves on, I kind of squeeze the gun between my legs with those towels protecting me from the heat. And I take the rubber, and keep in mind, I've got my leather gloves on. I take the pickle jar squeegee, whatever you call these things. And this allows me to get better grip on it. Now, you might wonder, does this thing melt? These things are made out of rubber. Is it going to melt? I've never had a gun so hot that I was scared that one of these was going to melt. I've never had one show any signs of damage, that it was melting, or that the plastic from this was transferring onto the magazine tube or to anything else. So it's always worked beautifully for me. This is not, I don't actually like this one because it's kind of slick. I have one and I can't seem to find it today, but I have one that has a checkering on it. And if you notice here when I squeeze on it, it's actually pretty good. It's not really going anywhere. but I like the one with the checkering better. But any of these are going to work. But this allows me to solidify my grip on this tube. Now, if I don't get any movement on it, then I put some more heat. After 15 minutes, I put some more heat on it. Maybe I turn it up a little bit more. And then I might give it 5 or 8 minutes, and then I check it again. So what's going to happen is at some point, you're going to get it to budge ever so slightly. It's just going to be a very little, you're just going to, just enough that you know you've moved it, even just a hair. And that is enough that the Loctite, for the most part, is compromised. You may still need a little more heat, you may not, but at that point, you're going to be able to grip really hard. And remember, leather gloves, please. I don't want you all burning yourself. This is going to be pretty darn hot, okay? So is this magazine tube. You're going to learn. You're going to learn your lesson really well if you grab either one of these things after the heat gun's been on it. You're going to learn, and you'll never make that mistake again, okay? But once you get that tube to budge, okay, it's compromised. It's coming off. Just give it a little more work, and it's coming off. So we're going to go on to the gun that's already had this done, and we're going to finish the job. Okay, so a keen eye will recognize that I have now put a different gun out than was before, broken it down, and even though this has the 7-round magazine tube, for all intents and purposes, for the sake of this video, I can show you, basically, pretend like we have been putting the heat on there, we've seen enough smoke, we've gotten it to budge ever so slightly. This is going to come right off. Now, again, I'm doing this barehanded. I didn't use this at all, which probably I would maybe have to. And I also don't have the leather gloves on in case this is still hot. Of course, I know this isn't. So basically, if you're pretending that this titanium 7-round mag tube is a 5-round tube, it's going to come right off. And there's the spring. Of course, I didn't remove the spring from this one. I didn't want to remove the end cap and all that. We'll talk about that in a minute. But, I mean, that's basically it, folks. Here is the Forend retaining clip. And so you've basically got a gun that's ready to go. Here's the original follower that came with this gun. The original followers looked like that. They were black with a red insert. And so we're at the point where it's time to let the gun cool, of course, provided this was a hot gun. The 5-round magazine tube, you're going to discard if it cools off, or once it cools off, if you want to clean the threads and put it away in case you need it for a rainy day, you're welcome to do that. A lot of people just discard their 5-round magazine tube, but you're going to be replacing it, of course, with a 7-round magazine tube, and this is a Freedom Fighter Tactical 7-round titanium magazine tube. So, you know, provided it's cool, let's get my tools again. I need my wire brush. Now, again, this isn't the wire brush that I ordinarily would use, but I would have my wire brush. I'd probably have a rag. Let's see if I can find my my cleaning patch. Maybe I use that, maybe I don't. Just depends on how much there is. Now, the Loctite, when it's been compromised like this, it's going to be flaky, it's going to be gritty, it's going to be white and crusty, and it's going to be all in the threading. So once you allow the gun to cool, you're going to be able to take some cleaner, you know, some break free or whatever your favorite cleaner is, get a little bit on the rag. Maybe you take it and get some of the residue out, you know, switch the rag around, get some of the residue out, switch the rag around, get some residue out, take the brush, scrub it out, make sure you're getting everything out of there. You know, just get it to where the threading is nice and super clean. And however you go about doing it. I've used Q-tips in the past if I want to go in at the very end and make sure I'm getting inside the threading really, really good. I think I had a Q-tip at one point here to use to demonstrate, but you know what a Q-tip looks like. I mean, and you're taking it in there, maybe you're turning it to the other side, cleaning it out, getting a new Q-tip, cleaning it out, doing the rag. You just want to get all the residue out of there. There's no reason to have any of that in there. See if there's any down in the receiver itself. Get any grit out, get any of that out that you can, okay? So it's really that simple. And once the gun cools and you've got this end cleaned out, it really is just about reassembly and taking your 7-round mag tube. One of the questions that I get is that magazine tube seal ring, and I'm not going to remove, well, I could remove it, I guess. I'm not going to remove it, but we removed it a minute ago when I pulled it with the snap ring pliers and it went shooting out with the other gun. A lot of people ask me, where do you put that? They think that they don't realize that the magazine spring seal ring is held in place by outward force. So this ring is made with a certain size, and it takes a considerable amount of force to squeeze it together and slip it into the spot. And by virtue of the outward force, it stays right there. It's not going anywhere, okay? It's not going to come flying out with the spring behind it. A lot of people call and ask me, where's the little slot in your tube for the magazine spring seal ring to fit into place? There is no slot on the inside of any tube, okay? It's the outward force just holds it at the end of the tube. If you were to shove that down somewhere down in here, which I wouldn't advise you doing, it's going to hold its spot down there, and it's going to give you less room for ammo. It's going to hold wherever it sits. It's right there, and it's not going anywhere. So basically, what I would do is I would take my 7-round mag tube, put my magazine spring seal ring down at the end of it, and then I would put my spring. This is a nicer spring than is in the other gun. That's because it's a Freedom Fighter Tactical Wolff spring. But I'm going to take my tube and my follower. I'm going to put the follower, I'm just going to stick it in there. Let's see, maybe not. I'm just going to basically, come on, go in there. All right, so I'm going to make sure that my spring is completely in there. And I am going to, let's see if I can do this, put it together. It might be easier for you. That was easy. I mean, that wasn't hard at all. But it might be easier for you to remove the magazine spring seal ring, screw the tube on, okay? Drop the follower in first. Make sure you drop the follower in. You know how many times I forgot to put the follower in and then I have to take the whole gun apart again? Drop the follower in first, then put the spring in, then put the magazine spring seal ring on. So you're going to fight the spring either way. You saw me fight it just a little bit right there. You're gonna have to fight it either way. It's not a big deal. Sometimes it's tough to get that spring to behave. Sometimes it doesn't. And guess what I just did? I just left off the Forend magazine or the Forend retaining ring. I noticed that when I had that gap right there, I was like, wait a minute, something's not right. So let's put that back where it goes. It goes right there. And let's see if I can do it that way or if I'm going to need to take the magazine spring seal ring off, and that actually went in there real nice. Let's see here. I can probably put this actually on the magazine. Let's see here. Go on there. It's not wanting to cooperate. I might have to do it the other way. There we go. Stick this in there. There's a lot of improvising when you're doing this. You just want to make it easy on yourself. There, I just heard the follower snap into place. I like to check and make sure everything's working good. Yep, it's working good. I know that spring is straight because I put it in straight. It's amazing, even though you do these all the time. I wonder if it's on there good. It'll be nice and tight once I get everything put together. You just torque down on that. If you notice, I did not use any Loctite. I get a lot of questions about whether you use Loctite to put the new tube on. I never have. That's totally up to you. If you notice that threading, the same threading that is on the end of the magazine is on the other end, and it's tight, it's square cut, it's not going anywhere. I mean, it's just not going anywhere. And I would imagine that I would trust this gun for thousands and thousands and thousands of rounds and not worry anything about the magazine moving and coming loose. So it's up to you if you want to use Loctite or not. Totally up to you. So basically from here, it's just putting the gun back together. So I'm going to probably edit this very heavily so that we can show all the steps in putting it back together. It's not hard to do. I actually did a video recently where I showed you how to do the trigger. I actually like to have the hammer down when I'm putting it back together because it makes the job easier getting the bolt in there. So I need to go ahead and remove the punch again, or the trigger pin. It's hard to do it on this table and keep it in frame, but it requires depressing the, let's see if I can get a better handle on it over here, depressing the bolt release button and getting that trigger in there just right to where the everything just lines up perfectly. And on this gun, it's very tricky. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do it without editing the video, because it is a trick. Okay, so I had to fight it a little bit to get the trigger assembly into place, but once you do, the pin will come through very easily, and then you can, of course, the hammer was back or depressed, and so that makes it easier to put the bolt in. Use the charging handle, hit the button. Let's see here, does it want to fight me? It wants to fight me just a little bit. Wanted to fight me just a little bit. Pull the bolt back, of course, and then it's putting, and I'm doing this at a horizontally here, so we'll see if I can get this all together and slide it together under the lamps, and I did. Put the and then check to make sure that everything is good, okay? Okay, we're back in business, and we have a 7-round mag tube on this gun. All right, folks, so that's it. Changing the mag tube out, it's quick and easy. I know this was a simulation. I made it look a lot easier than it is, but I wanted the video to be short. I wanted it to be tight. I wanted you to be able to watch it multiple times without it being a 40-minute commitment each and every time. I haven't gone into the editing yet, so I don't know how long it's going to be ultimately, but hopefully it's going to be a quick and dirty. Just get in and get out and get the job done. I've showed you all the steps. Look, if this is the kind of content that you like, you want to be part of the Benelli community, you want to be part of the Freedom Fighter tactical community, I urge you to give the video a thumbs up if you like this kind of content. YouTube is very anti-gun, so the more thumbs up we get, any gun video gets, the better the video is going to do, the more gun people it's going to get in front of. Leave a question, leave a comment down below. That indicates that the video, indicates to YouTube that the video should be shown to more people. Feel free to subscribe, hit the bell so you get notifications when you log into YouTube that Freedom Fighter has a new video up. And check out freedomfightertactical.com for all the best firearms parts and accessories. Phone number is over on the website. You can call me anytime. It goes to my personal cell phone. It has for like 12 or 13 years. And you will get me, and I'm happy to help you in any way I can. Folks, I will see you in the next video. Take care and be safe.